These are the meds that I've been taking since I was 4. 1, 2, 3, 11, 12, 13.
Lexapro. The last one is Abilify. All the medications, they made me feel as if I had 1,000 bricks on my head.
They are tiny witnesses who came out of the shadows to tell and show us the mountain of potent drugs, antidepressants, antipsychotic drugs they were given in America's foster care system.
I was just a zombie.
An indictment of what the U.S. government does to some of the most vulnerable children in this country. We have spent a year investigating a horrible secret. Tens of thousands of foster care children, even infants, given powerful mind-altering drugs and at times in doses and combinations considered too risky even for adults. And remember this statistic, foster children are given these potent drugs at an alarming 13 times the rate of other children. Tomorrow, a government GAO report will paint a portrait of a grotesque failure to protect foster children.
Consider the case of 7-year-old Brooke, taken from a drug-addicted mother, just 43 pounds, but given 5 mind-altering drugs at the same time, a combination that is deemed too risky even for adults.
Brooke, you need to get down. Come here, Brooke.
And foster parents who want to help soon learn that if they don't give medications, the child can be taken away.
We were told to put our faith in the system, and that's what we did. No one said the medications could be causing the problem. They kept saying she needs more medications.
But in Brooke's case, one doctor, a psychiatrist, recognized the problem. And Brooke went from this, being weaned off the strongest medications, to this.
No adult should be receiving the drugs that different variety, certainly not at these ages.
The GAO report, which found in some cases psychotropic drugs were given to infants, even though there is no idea what the long-term effects of these drugs could be on a child's developing brain. And the report found in 5 states alone, out of 100,000 foster kids, 26,000 were on some form of psychotropic drugs.
How is it happening?
When you don't have the time, the quick rush to judgment is the answer is a pill.
You know, I worked for 5 years in the Texas foster care system as a court-appointed special advocate, CASA, and I was still in the pharmaceutical industry at that time, and I started to see how that children that were, you know, just had a bad rap in life and got placed in the system were literally a profit center for psychiatric drugging. And because of the Texas medication algorithm project that we had here, they were getting not only, you know, major psychiatric drugs, but the most expensive drugs that were on the market, and the taxpayers were paying for them. So I really became alarmed about that when I saw that all my little 2-, 3-, and 4-year-old kiddos, they would come into the system and they were immediately drugged.
Incredible.
Now arrives the hour of action.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it.
For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury.
To subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws.
All experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
And we're going to take our country back from these people.
Back our constitutional God-given rights. You damn right. You damn right.
Now arrives the hour of...
You damn right. You damn right. States are profiting off the destruction of our families. What do we want? Justice! States are profiting off the destruction of our families. You damn right. States are profiting off the destruction of our families. What do we want? Justice! States are profiting off the destruction of our families.
And we're going to take our country back from these people.
You damn right. You damn right.
Now arrives the hour of action.
I'm not sure you can hear me since I had my mic down. So welcome again. Jeez, so many levers and buttons. Welcome to the first annual in Clarkesville, Georgia, Remembrance of Nancy Schaefer event live show at 5:30. So I was just talking about my day yesterday. I had a pretty bad day. Some unsavory individuals accused me of something that I've never been accused of before, legally or otherwise. But at the same time, people in this community lift each other up, and I feel blessed to know people who every day help make me keep pushing forward. And so Kirk Pendergrass shared this with me after that crappy day yesterday. How to handle a rumor. The test of 3. So keep this philosophy in mind the next time you either hear or are about to repeat a rumor. In ancient Greece, 469 through 399 BC, Socrates was widely known for his wisdom. One day, the great philosopher came upon an acquaintance who ran up to him excitedly and said, "Socrates, do you know what I just heard about one of your students?" "Wait a minute," Socrates replied. "Before you tell me, I'd like you to pass a little test. It's called the test of 3. 3? Question mark. That's right," Socrates continued. "Before you talk to me about my student, let's take a moment to test what you're going to say. The first test is truth. Have you made absolutely sure that what you are about to tell me is true? No, the man said. Actually, I just heard about it. All right, said Socrates, so you don't really know if it's true or not. Now let's try the second test, the test of goodness. Is what you are about to tell me about my student something good? No, on the contrary, the man said. So Socrates continued, you want to tell me something bad about him even though you're not certain it's true. The man shrugged, a little embarrassed. Socrates continued. He said, you may still pass though, because there is a third test. The filter of usefulness. Is what you want to tell me about my student going to be useful to me? The man replied, no, not really. Well, concluded Socrates, if what you want to tell me is neither true, nor good, or even useful, why tell me at all? The man was defeated and ashamed. This was the reason Socrates was a great philosopher and held in such high esteem. There has been rumors about all kinds of people from the moment I came into this community, and ranging from money, different charges, different accusations. And man, if we want to look like a bunch of idiots to the public, some of you are doing a very good job of that. And somehow we need to legitimize what we are doing so the public can view us in a professional way. And I believe ultimately, while Chris Hallett was a member of Restoring Freedom early on, what he was trying to do is just that, legitimize what they're doing and the people involved. So I certainly had no problem with the background check. They did a background check on me, and I became a member of Restoring Freedom. I didn't like some of the things that were practiced, like getting permission. Like when I started the show, did you get permission to interview this person? No, that's pretty much that, and a couple other things turned me off from the group. But I'd like to, you know, ask you guys what you think about a more legitimized community. If the family rights movement is going to spread and follow the direction of other large groups, you know, I have some really great ideas about splitting things up between different circuits. We have 13 appellate courts, 11 of them in the U.S., which include Hawaii and Alaska, and then 2 more in Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands somewhere. All, you know, technically sort of states of the United States. That's why there's 13, but there's only 11. So I have 11 pages ready, 11 groups ready, all focused on that circuit court, that federal appellate circuit or district. And I think, you know, anybody can like it, anybody can follow it, watch it, do whatever. But I think the members, if there's going to be a board or something, these members need to be vetted and have a background check, especially with what happened just recently, with people accusing me of something so horrible that I, of course, have never done. And like I said yesterday, one of the main reasons I found this community is because, you know, running away from a bad situation, a violent situation, as a man, I was charged with domestic violence because that's just what is done. I didn't commit any domestic violence. If anything, I kept myself from getting killed. And unfortunately, explaining this again, after a year of not really talking about it, it has soured me and my ex's relationship to the point that I'm not even sure that I'll be welcome to go down and see my son. I'm still going to, but I'm not going to be able to stay at her house where, you know, sometimes we get along, sometimes we don't. And me bringing this up, she didn't appreciate very much. Maybe I should ignore it, but these are the things, these are the reasons why some are suggesting I take legal action. against this slander, defaming my character, calling me things that I've never been accused of by anybody ever, especially not legally. But anyway, so we have, Ed is with us, and Ed, we have a little bit of a conundrum, correct? Do you want to explain this conundrum to everybody? Your audio's on now. There we go. Can you hear me, Ed?
Yeah, I can hear you. I have my dog in the background. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I hear you.
The conundrum is we're trying to get you a trailer.
So I just sold my trailer, so I could afford to get to the event. And so the way things are unfolding,
Billy just reached out to somebody else about a trailer. So
okay, so I may have to drive 7 hours west to Buffalo to pick up the rest of the equipment that we need for this event. Billy has his PA system, his mixing board, his boom mic, and other things, and all of my equipment and his equipment together. It'll all be patched in to make this event the greatest thing ever. So if I'm going to drive 7 hours out of my way to Buffalo to get a trailer and pick up this stuff, after selling a trailer that would have fit everything, I won't be able to get down to Corinne's to pick up the screen. So not only is Ed going to rent a van for everybody to get people there, he's now going to rent a trailer for me to pick up to bring everything down there. And then on top of that, since I won't be able to pick up the screen on the way, I'll be taking a completely different route. Ed is going to buy a projection screen with a stand. We have another screen. John Schaefer offered to give me a screen that he has, but it has to be hung on eye hooks. And we all know from previous events in DC, you're not allowed to put a screw, even tape sometimes is frowned upon when you're putting up signs. So we'll see. I don't want to go there and start putting screw holes in anything and make the city mad at me. So a freestanding projection screen is what we need, and I can't thank you enough, Ed. I mean, that's incredible. You're renting a van, you're going to rent a trailer, and get a projection screen, since I won't be able to pick it up. I mean, these are the things, and like Kirk sending me this thing about Socrates. Little to big things are what keep me going, keep me motivated, knowing that we're doing the right thing and everything's going to work out. Trying to find your camera here. Camera one. There you are, right behind me. Let's get this over here.
Billy, come in.
Billy is with us again. Let me get Billy up here. Camera 4.
So let me get this straight. Ed is renting the trailer too.
Yeah, Ed is renting the trailer too.
We are going to have to make you a saint. You're now known as Saint Ed.
Saint Ed.
You are Saint Ed. We have just sainted you. I mean,
do what's called on you.
Man.
Trying to get these.
Good man, Ed.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible that you would help out in such a way, and these are the reasons why larger events usually have a donation button. And if anybody wanted to help out, please feel free to financially, because we're all getting into a pretty big financial hole with this event. Next year there will be a more professional website with a donation button, and we're going to get rid of these people who feel like if you ask for money to do all these wonderful things we're trying to do, that for some reason you're a bad person if you need financial help doing it. And those types of people we just need to get rid of.
Right.
Doesn't matter There was another rumor going around that Francesca bought all my equipment. No, she didn't. I wish she had, because I'd be in a much better place. I had to take components of my old computer, get a couple of new things, and totally rebuild it. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and had to ask for money to do it, because I haven't worked in 2 years. But it wasn't from Francesca. It was from my family. And you know what? It doesn't matter if Francesca helped me or not. Why is it a big deal? Is Ed getting a trailer for us to get equipment down there? Is Ed a bad guy? Or am I a bad guy for letting Ed do this? You're taking a flight, Billy. Or am I a bad guy because you're getting a flight down there? Laura Thompson, Jeff Morgan, they're both ones. Laura's flying from Denver. Jeff is flying from Texas. Am I a bad guy because I'm not paying for their plane tickets to an event? None of it doesn't make any sense. Whatever you guys, and I'm not going to say your names, but one of you who I called in Ohio is contributing to this nonsense, and I don't appreciate it. This type of stuff, I don't care about your personal beefs. Everybody's trying to do the best they can. Francesca is relatively new in the community and doesn't know a lot of the ins and outs and who likes who and this and that. So she's been interviewing people and maybe stepped in a little bit of hot water. And for somebody like that dude in Canada to start bashing her for no reason, instead of going to her and being like, hey, this is what I'm about. No, instead they waste all this time and energy destroying somebody, which destroys everything we're doing.
Ted,
yeah.
We ain't got to explain to everybody what we're doing, bud. We're doing it because we need to do it.
We're doing this because it's good for humanity.
Let's not fall into their traps.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's why I read this thing from Socrates about rumors, and I'm going to leave it at that.
That's a good thing.
If legal action has to be taken after the fact, then I'll deal with that. I don't have any qualms. I have plenty of people in my corner to help me in that arena.
Yep.
So I think we have this pretty much figured out.
Yep, we'll get it figured out and we'll have it all done.
So that means I'll probably leave tomorrow. I'll try to do a live at 5 and then leave from here right after that. Unfortunately, then Kirk will have to produce Kirk's Law Corner on Wednesday on his own. But John Gentry is going to be speaking on Sunday, so you'll be able to see the Kirk's Law Corner intro at the event. That'll be awesome. You'll be able to see Francesca's Punished for Protecting intro at the event, and there's video intros for all the speakers. What's that, Billy?
And it'll be Fantastico.
Fantastico. It will be.
It's a word that you made up. I like that word.
Yeah, I used to work with this guy, Columbia George. Very interesting guy. It's been a long time since I've seen him, and he's a Columbia refugee. And so one time we were working in Key West. This was around the time my son was born, and I'm saying, so if you're a Columbia refugee, that means if these people in Columbia who don't like you, if they showed up here, they'd kill us both. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, what? All right, I don't want to know anything else. But Columbia George, you know, he taught me a little bit, not a lot, unfortunately, but a little bit of Spanish. And he'd always say Fantastico. So it was just something I keep saying. And now we have a wonderful lady named Francesca Amato Banfield in our community now. So Fantastico is the name.
Fantastico, yes. Fantastic I've done. Fantastico I say all the time, but I've never done Fantastico. I mean, you just like, and it's just those combination utility patents that, you know, really are the successful ones.
Yep.
Just put a smile on my face the first time you said it, and I knew it was a winner.
It's a winner. So we're still waiting on Terry LaPointe. Maybe I should send her a message real quick.
I'll be in there.
Gia Love says, no matter what, please think about our children at the end of the day. That's all that matters.
Yep. That's right.
Absolutely correct. It's really all that matters. No, she said she was confused about something. Now, I was referring to yesterday's show and people within our own community trying to undermine what we're trying to do, which happened at the last event, and now seems to be some people are trying to do the exact same thing.
Can I comment on that, Ted?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Thank you. I always like to get your permission first. Generally, it doesn't stop me, and I know that's, you've already talked to me about that several times. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, I want to say that from a Christian perspective, the early church, we look at how successful the early church was. And when I say they were successful, I mean, they grew in numbers that were astronomical for the time. And they continued to grow. And why continue to grow? They acted like a family. They acted like a family and giving to the other according to his or her need. I mean, that's what they did. They said, look, I can do this, you can do that. I have this, you have that. And they go, we're just throwing it all in. And let's see what we get. And I'm sure that the system at that time, and I'm not a biblical scholar, and somebody can maybe look this up and they can either corroborate or they can correct me. And either way is fine. But I'm sure that the people that were inside the walls who had the system going didn't like that. Didn't like that they were doing this thing because it interrupted what their system of economy was, their society that they had built, and it was so counter to that. And right now, if you look around, what's happening? Nobody wants to do anyone. Love of many has literally gone cold. And that's
breaking up really bad.
Right?
You're breaking up really bad.
Can you hear me?
Really. I can hear you, but it's a little bit muddled. I don't know if people can understand. Eric. No, you're a very positive person. Everything you say, Billy, is very enlightening and very positive, and I can't thank you enough for everything you're doing. Eric Sinderman said, if you want, you can use our nonprofit. That way, anyone donating can write it off. Eric Sinderman and I are close. He is somebody who, he is people who don't like him too. We all do. But he is somebody who goes between all these groups and is okay with everybody and talks with everybody. And he's kind of this intermediary person who I think will help bring the Million Pair March event to a happy ending in the coming year. Richard Provost, thank you. Gia Love, the John Anderson and Francesca ordeal. Yeah, that's something I don't really like talking about, and I really would like to ignore.
We don't need to talk about it. This is about our first annual
Underground News.
Nancy Schaefer.
Yeah. Hi, Veronica Ferguson. Thank you for joining us. I'm just looking at the comments here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Lori Nicholson, good luck to all of you. Thank you. Lori, if you want to come to the event, if you can get the time off, this caravan is leaving from Pennsylvania, and I know that you are in Pennsylvania, so if you'd like to come, you could have a ride and a place to stay for like $150 or something, right, Ed?
$170.
$170. Free ride to the event. A free place to stay, and then after that, you go to the DC event.
Concert?
Right? Free concert, basically. Let's see. Amanda.
Yeah, down by the river.
Yeah, sorry, Amanda, I don't know why you're hearing white noise. It must be your end.
Somebody's got something in the background. I noticed that, too. Yeah, I can assure you.
Gia Love, thank you. We need to think about our kids. Go global. Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to do is legislators, we can talk to legislators all day long, but if their constituents aren't backing them, aren't saying, hey, we know this problem, we need you to fix this problem, then they're not going to listen to us. So my focus has always been the public, getting public attention. Let me try to message Terry. I want to get Terry on here. So let me see here. Belinda might not be making it. She got caught up at work. Terry. You know what? Maybe I'll just call her.
Billy, mute your mic when you're moving around there, bud.
Sorry about that.
Because we're getting a lot of background noise.
All right. Let's say hi to Terry real quick. See if she can come on the show or not, because I think the three of us have figured out this logistic problem. Unless there's... Hi, Terry. Are you able to make it on the show, or... Okay, yeah. Well, we started it up, and we've got another half an hour to go. So, whenever you're ready, we're waiting on you. Okay, I apologize. No, don't. Thank you. Bye. All right, so Terry's coming on. I'm really excited that Terry's going to be there talking about her webpage, Medical Kidnap. I have a great introduction for her. Because it's not only children that are affected, but also the elderly or people who are sick. Right now, their property, their house, I mean, everything can be taken away from them because they're sick and in the hospital. This is all part of family law that needs to be changed.
Hey guys, I hate to bow out right now, but I have to go into my daughter's chorus concert. We're having the whole school kind of come together, so I'm gonna go awesome. Do that. But it looks like we got everything logistically taken care of.
I think so. I think we're gonna figure it out. Unless there's somebody from Buffalo driving down, and we haven't talked to you yet, just let us know, and you can make all our lives that much more easier. Otherwise, we'll figure it out. So thank you, Billy.
Thank you. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
You too. Later, bro. All right. So let's see. Ed, do you want to stay on the screen, or do you want to just listen from here on out? Is there anything else?
I'll listen, bud.
All right.
I'm going to listen out. I'm going to listen in on you.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to click that. So Ed, you're still with us. You're just hanging out in the background. Yep. So we're just waiting on Terry LaPointe to join us. I can't wait. While we're waiting, there's plenty of videos I could do. Or you know what? Maybe I'll even find. Let me pull this up. I will show you the video introduction I created for, this isn't it, no. I created for Terry. Browse, oh boy, a lot of stuff going on there. Videos. Did I move it to another location? Well, that's the question. Okay, here it is. Let me know what you guys think about.
One person stands up and says, no more. One person says, this is right, and this is the line in the sand. And that's what we're here for today. Because today is the day that makes a difference in our nation. Because what is happening here in this country is absolutely un-American.
Don't follow after the wicked ones or be jealous of their wealth. Don't think for a minute they're better off than you. They're not getting away with this, guys. They're really not going to get away with this. There's a God on the throne. They and their short-lived success will soon shrivel up and quickly fade away like grass clippings of the hot sun. Keep trusting in the Lord and do what is right. The vast majority of the public really doesn't realize this stuff happens. They have no clue, and I didn't either. Make sure you just go to the Health Impact News page or Medical Kidnap page.
There's Terry LaPointe's video introduction I put together. I put music behind everything, and tried to find video of everybody. I found some fantastic video of Jeff Morgan and Laura Thompson that I didn't have, but some people like Randy Davis, I had already made pretty amazing compilations, and I just added some music to it, and separated it from whatever from the show that a lot of these videos were ads for the show, to get people to come on and watch the show, and so I just separated it from that, and it's really incredible how much, I have enough video to bog down any laptop, that's for sure, and I don't want to delete any of it, you know what I mean? This stuff takes a lot of time. So what I have now with this system is I have two hard drives, both solid state drives. So one is where I run like OBS, Windows, most of the programs, and then the second hard drive is where I store everything, like all the videos. Any video or artwork I save goes to the second hard drive, so the first hard drive doesn't get bogged down with all that other information crammed into it. If you just have a laptop with one hard drive, what you can do is you can partition your hard drive so your computer thinks you have two hard drives, and that helps out a lot as well. And that's what I've done with the old laptop that I finally got running again. In other news, I might have a gig, since I can now broadcast on site, just the way I do here, using that old laptop. I'm going to be doing some stuff locally, unaffiliated with family law reform, in the hopes that I could, this one is free, obviously, because it's a friend of mine. And the person who cut my hair today, look how amazing it is. You got the Back to the Future look, the George McFly look, sort of. Thanks to my good friend Jessie Storm Ferrio. And so something she's doing in the community, I might be able to film and broadcast live, which will help me, get this service out there. Because, I've got surgery coming up, so I'll be hopefully pretty close to 100% again, get back to work here. But 2 years without working, I chose to come back home because it was either this or be homeless. Thank you, family court. Thank you, family law. And this is all tied into why I do as much as I can in this community. And it's a beautiful community of wonderful people. Unfortunately, we do attract some unsavory individuals and fringe groups that there's got to be a way to remove these individuals and fringe groups from the good work that everybody's trying to do. And I think that's going to be my main focus when I come back. It's just ridding ourselves of these unsavory people once and for all. So that'll be fun. Because you can hear, if you've ever watched any of Terry's videos, it's always uplifting, positive, don't pay attention to the negative. She mentions in one video, before she really understood medical kidnap, somebody was very sarcastic and mean to her about it, she says. And, she brushed it off. Doesn't matter. But what she said in that video was, try to be kind to people. Not everybody knows what some of us know. So if they come to you with a question that sounds stupid to you because you already know all this stuff, treat them with a little bit of dignity and respect, and be nice to them. Because that's what every human being deserves. If you can't do that, then things like this infighting will continue to happen. And remember that a lot of things on Facebook can be taken the wrong way, and take it with a grain of salt. I try not to even look at the comments on my videos afterwards, because I know there's going to be one at least from somebody that doesn't like me for whatever reason, or jealous, or I don't know why. I don't know why these white people have to be so negative. Oh, what is the link for Zoom? See? Yeah. All right. So join meeting. Click join meeting. Then enter. Let's see. 376 657 800. All right. Let's see if we can make this happen. Come on, Terror, you can do it. This is what happened to me last week, Wednesday and Thursday. I got tied up with the trailer business. People get out of work at, around 5 o'clock, and that's when they want to come by and check things out. So I didn't do a broadcast last Thursday or Friday. And, Belinda can't make it because she's tied up with personal things, and Terry had to pick up her daughter from work and is just getting home. And I'm not sure Terry has ever been on any of the shows with us. She's done plenty of her own live videos, but not through Zoom, not like this. So bear with us. Hopefully we'll get her on shortly. I'm going to try to keep this to an hour. It's 6:08 now, Eastern Time. We started at 5:30, so I'd like to end at 6:30. I have a lot to do. I still have some laundry to do. I want to change my oil before I go, and obviously pack up all this stuff. So I've got a ton of stuff to pack in that car. And then, like I said, tomorrow night, it looks like I'll be heading to Buffalo to pick up the rest of the equipment. Unless one of you are coming from Buffalo who has enough room to hold a large speaking system. Terry! You have made it. How are you?
There she is. Miss America.
So what you need to do is in your bottom left-hand corner, there's a little microphone icon and a camera icon. Just make sure that both of those are on. Your camera icon is on, obviously. We just need your microphone on. Like the headphones, by the way. Those are nice.
Oh, thank you.
I can hear you.
Oh, can you see me?
I can see you. Let me bring you up on the screen here.
Okay, I think I need to get out of the Facebook Live ones because I'm hearing you twice.
Oh yeah, you want to exit out of watching the video and just concentrate on Zoom. That's what, like, radio guys always say that. When you call into this show, they're like, turn down your radio.
Right. Well, where'd it go now? It disappeared. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep. You're a little bit quiet, but that's all right. I'm not worried about that too much.
I can't see you now.
Oh, really? I can see you?
Yeah,
just fine.
I saw you for a minute, and then it's went away.
Huh. Let me transition. All right. Well, I've got you on the screen.
Oh, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I can talk, even if I can't see you.
That'll work, I guess. So, you run the page Medical Kidnap, which, I mean, the amount of work you're doing with that is incredible. I get some update from you, from that page, almost every day. I mean, you put a ton of work into this. bringing
there
light to
are
this.
other people. I do a lot of the stories, but there are that my editor does a good bit, and there are some other people that do some of the work, but I do a lot of them.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and the medical kidnap aspect in family law is something that I'm really glad that we'll be able to touch on at the event, because it's not just children, it's also the elderly being taken advantage of. Sometimes
Yes.
everything, their whole life ripped from them, property,
Yes.
land, houses just gone.
Yep.
And this is all encompassing in family law. You know, we generally are in this because of our children, but there are people in our community who came into this through their parents being taken advantage of in the hospital, and then the courts liquidating their assets in order to pay for different things, not letting them out of the hospital and go home. Some cases they could go home, but family law can profit off of them staying in the hospital and then selling off their assets.
Right.
And that's a part of this that we really need to understand, because if we're going to end family law, if we're going to really create family law reform, it's not going to come just in the family courts or just in CPS, all of it has to be known, understood, and taken care of, every aspect of it. And in doing so, that will also take care of Nancy's journey, which was towards the most extreme child trafficking and human trafficking, which I believe, I believe that what she must have been thinking is, you show this horrific nightmare of what's going on in child trafficking to the public, and the whole thing will start to crumble. Unfortunately, even her as a senator reaching out to other legislators, again, not a lot of public support, because people generally don't understand unless it happens to them.
Right.
So and again, that's why I always kind of focus on the public more than even legislators. But it says a lot. As far as Nancy had gone, and her voice echoed throughout the country, and we were much further then than we are now, she herself was hitting brick walls with her peers, being like, well, show me where you need more support for this. We need more evidence, more public support. And if Nancy had your work, if Nancy had a medical kidnap page, that may have helped her out quite a bit.
Wow.
So in some ways we're ahead, but without Nancy we're a little bit behind. So through this event, I'm hoping we can update Nancy's family on how this is not only continuing but has gotten much worse, and then also open up people's eyes to what you'll be speaking on. And I can't thank you enough for you to take your time, get to Clarkesville, Georgia, close to where you went to college, and speak on all the incredible work you're doing.
We couldn't do it alone. We do get the stories, but the stories wouldn't go anywhere if it wasn't for the public sharing them and taking action and doing something with them.
Yeah.
People posting them on their pages, people talking about them. That's what makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Content without the public involvement is just a page in a book or a page on a screen. It doesn't go anywhere without all of us working together.
Exactly. And I've watched a lot of your videos. I don't know if you just saw the video intro I made of you for your speech. I just put it up there. But it's a part of it is you speaking at the Million Parrot March, And then I've watched a lot of your own videos that you've done, and pulled some clips to create an intro that represents what you'll be speaking on and everything, and medical kidnap.
Great.
But every time, and I've shared some of your videos too, because you're so passionate about this, to the point it brings you to tears sometimes. And you're dealing with these horrible stories. You know, there's a lot of other radio shows who focus just on individual stories, which I think is great. But that can take its toll, you know. And a recent video or not too recently, maybe a month or two ago, you did a video where you broke down a little bit and you were crying. And you know,
I cry a lot.
Well,
I do.
It takes a toll on you, not only what you've been through yourself, but to put these stories together of other people's nightmares. I mean, it opens up things that usually people want to stay away from. You know, it opens up the fight or flight reflex. It creates, or you know, makes you relive your own emotional nightmares that you went through in the system. And you know, I certainly deal with that on a subconscious level every day with these panic attacks. I don't know why I get them. I don't know why. I had one so severe that I had to go to the ER Sunday. They just happen. And I don't cry. I'm not a person who cries. So somewhere my body or my brain is trying to get rid of all this emotional stuff, and I think that's why I get these panic attacks. It affects you. This stuff affects you, and thousands and thousands of people's lives being destroyed for profit for the family law industry. It can't continue.
It can't. You're right.
And we're all trying to do the best we can in the most positive way we can to bring awareness to this and end it. You know, and none of us have been able to seek redress, our First Amendment right for redress from the government. I've heard stories of people getting settlements for some pretty, you know, egregious situations, but we're all putting our own time, our own money, our own efforts into this for change. And you know, I applaud the work that you're doing. And one thing you did say is one of the videos that I took a little clip from, you said that when you first learned about medical kidnap, you would ask the question and somebody was rude to you or answered you in a rude way because they're like, duh, or something like that. And then you went on to say, just, you know, we're getting more and more people in the community every day. More and more people are waking up and being vocal. And if somebody says something that you've known for 2 years, that doesn't mean they're stupid. That means they're a new person. So try to, you said, try to treat people politely, be happy, be respectful, and answer their questions, even if it sounds like, you know, an obvious question.
Right.
The way we're going to win this is with love in our hearts and treating people politely with respect. And that's a message that I think you've reiterated in a lot of your videos, and I really appreciate that because people need to hear that. And I think that's why when I see your videos, I share them automatically because I know there's going to be a positive message in there. Usually anything that you have to say is very positive and uplifting. So.
Oh, thank you. Because sometimes I feel like I'm Debbie Downer. I meet new people and I'm telling them these horrible stories, and then I watch their faces and I'm like, oh, but sometimes we get kids back and I try to bring it, we got to win this. And because I think, you know, okay, I'm just like crushing people's souls, telling them about stuff that they had no idea even existed. And so it's very heavy, and I, because I deal with this all the time, this is my life. And I sometimes, even my son asked me the other day, he said, can you just like not talk about this around me right now? Because I'm just because he was dealing with some stuff in his own life that was really difficult. And he was like, I can't handle it, Mom. And, and he's an adult, but still, this stuff that I'm dealing with all the time, or that any of the families are dealing with all the time, your person you meet at on the street, at the grocery store, at the gas station, at the restaurant, wherever, may have no clue what is going on, may have no clue that this stuff even happens, and it's like you're an alien telling them that about that aliens are real and that we're fixing to be taken over by a zombie apocalypse or something you're telling them that this is real. It's it's about that radical and crazy to the person who doesn't know that this is really happening.
Right.
So, go ahead.
That you're absolutely correct. To people who are or have the mentality who don't really care what's going on. You know what? If there's a zombie apocalypse, I'll just go on the mountain or what. But I talk to people every single day. When I go out in public, I talk to somebody about this.
I do too.
So today, I had a doctor's appointment, which I needed. I'm glad it came up after this ER trip in the ambulance. My doctor suggested, I don't like antidepressants, but he suggested a new drug that kind of suppresses the fight or flight reflex. He's thinking maybe that will help the panic attacks, possibly. It's worth a try. I've tried just about everything. But
you tried essential oils? I'll bring some essential oils this weekend.
Somebody did send me some essential oils, and then my hair didder friend Jessie Storm-Ferrio, the person at the desk recommended these lithium stones. So I'll look into those. But so the nurse, since basically this was a pre-op appointment, since I'm getting surgery on the hand, so they had to do an EKG, and I said I just had two, one in the ambulance, or really three. I had one in the ambulance, and then they were training a new nurse at Mary Hitchcock, Dartmouth Hitchcock Hospital, and so she put on all the stickers, and then the person training her said, no, you did that wrong, and I had to rip it off again, pulling my hair out. They put it back on, so I've had 3 EKGs in 3 days, and of course I'm fine. But so as she's doing this, I've got my shirt off. This lady's like doing all the stuff.
They just wanted to see you without your shirt.
It's not, not the greatest view ever these days. Maybe 5 years ago, but I've been sitting in front of this computer so long. But so, simply asking me, so how are you doing? What how's your day been? And I go right into this, and explain to her what family law reform is and how people are being taken advantage of by the lower courts, and how even Jeff Sessions said, and I keep reiterating this, that the lower courts are creating legislation on their own, bypassing the legislative process, ultimately breaking the law every 8 seconds. And she's like, well, that's just incredible. I wish more people were doing this. And I said, yeah, it's hard to get people to do anything. And she's like, I know. I mean, Americans really need to be watching out for this. I mean, this is America, for the people, of the people, by the people. And so she, hearing that coming from somebody who had never heard of the family rights movement, put a huge smile on my face, because she gets it. She's heard some of these things that's been happening in our country, not necessarily with family law reform, but with the lower courts. And that gives me a great sense of hope that there are people out there who want to listen, who want to understand what this is all about.
Right.
And I'm hoping Georgia is going to be ground zero for our help. Got off the phone with John Schaefer yesterday. Hopefully we'll have time to have dinner. And he's still deciding. He would like to come to the event, but at the very least he'll write something for Belinda or I to read. I'll let Belinda read it, because without Belinda, we wouldn't have been in contact with the family. And
oh wow.
Yeah. And that's because Nancy Schaefer had Belinda's name written in her notes. And so John, being the main sibling who helped his mother with her campaign and her ministry, he went through, he poured over all these notes and got all these names and spent a lot of money investigating all these people, Belinda being one of them. So when the mayor contacted him, asking him if he's ever heard of me, this person from Vermont doing this event, he said no, and he started looking into everything and found Belinda's name, remembered her name from 2010, and contacted her, or Belinda contacted. Somehow they got in touch, and then I was able to talk to John. And to me, I figured, you know, I have two brothers. If I talked to one brother and I said, hey, we have to do this, and I figured my other brother would be okay with it. But, you know, there's always a hierarchy in families, and sometimes family members don't talk to one another. And so I'm hoping Nancy Schaefer, the daughter, can come to the event because she lives right in town. But at the same time, she might not want to put herself out that way. She might like to see how this event goes. If it goes great, fantastic. Or in their minds, who knows what could go wrong. But then next year, you know, after a successful event where it's happy, positive, we're getting our word out in a good way, I have a feeling the Nancy Schaefer's family will be a lot more welcoming at the second one. You know what I mean? Even though John told me we have their blessing, we have their support. He said that this is like a burnt-out ember that we're reigniting in his eyes, which meant a lot to me for him to say. I am just so looking forward to it, and if they can show up, and this is why I've reiterated to people, whether you're speaking or not, when you're in the audience, we don't need to be talking about conspiracies. I don't even like using that word. We don't want to talk about the murder or how they died. We want to celebrate the Schaefer's life, both Nancy and her husband Bruce, and celebrate the work that Nancy did to bring light to what we are doing. And that's the focus. You know, you could think of any worst case scenario, and it's always about hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. So imagine you're in the audience and you're like, something conspiracy, something murder, and a local person comes to investigate, you know, what's happening at their park, and they overhear you, and that creates a little bit of tension. We don't want to create tension. We want to be there in support of Nancy's family, be positive, celebrate their life, and be respectful of the community. We're going to, this isn't like going to D.C. We're going to a small town in Georgia, very religious people. They're going to be just leaving church or having lunch at the church as this event is starting. And I really hope we all keep that in mind and be as respectful as possible while we're there. So.
And yeah, and along that line, we probably all need to make sure that we're watching our mouth and keeping our language clean, because that part of the country, we will be in the Bible Belt. And just be respectful. Southerners are polite, but it's a great little area. It's great, wonderful people, and to honor Senator Schaefer is really great. I'm glad glad that y'all are putting this together.
Well,
because she left us a great foundation, an incredible foundation.
You said it. Yeah, if nothing else, she gave us something that we can all fall back on. And a lot of people in our community find us through videos of Nancy, and then are horrified to learn that she's no longer with us. You know, every once in a while, or just recently sharing a video Somebody asked, so how can I get in touch with Nancy? How can I be part of her organization? And I'm like, well, unfortunately, she's no longer with us. And they're like, oh my God. I mean, it's devastating. When you hear somebody supporting our community and our efforts so greatly as a senator, and then to find out that she's no longer with us, it's like, at first you're like, oh my God, this is going to end. And then you're like, oh no. I'm kidding.
It's a foundation. We need to take her message and her, so many of the things that I've learned about what are happening and the suggestions about how to fix them, they haven't changed. There's worse. Right. But her proposals for what needs to be done to fix it, they remain the same. There's those things, if they were enacted, would make a massive difference for families all over America.
Yes, and I was surprised when first listening to her last year, because a lot of people say that CPS has a place. In some ways they do good things, but Nancy's point was, we have police officers for a reason. A police officer can determine whether or not there's been violence, abuse, or neglect, and if they have to, remove people from the situation. And they are far more likely to place that child, if they have to remove a child from a family, to place that child in extended family. We don't need a separate service for that. We certainly don't need a separate service who is profiting off of it, creating their own policies, guidance documents, and
disregarding the Constitution.
And disregarding the Constitution. We don't need that. What we need is the lower courts to follow the law, and for police officers to do their job and follow what they're law enforcement for a reason. They follow what the law says. Unfortunately, with the lower courts creating their own legislation, ignoring the Constitution, police officers still, because that's what they're trained to do, is do what the courts tell them to do, basically. And for a lot of these officers understand the law, and sometimes may even question themselves, why am I being asked to break this person's civil rights or violate this person's civil rights? But they have to do it because it's their job. If they don't, then they'll get fired. And so I don't put a lot of blame on the officers. The officers, they have a family they have to support, and this is how corruption spreads. Is you have a family. Even if you're the one violating even if you're the judge, you justify it because you're doing what you need to do for your own family's well-being, and somehow, and some of us has said, hang the judges, make the judges pay. All really we want to do is say, look, the police can handle this stuff. Lower courts cannot be creating their own made-up legislation, not for the people, not by the people, not of the people. They have to follow the Constitution and the legislative process, and these things won't happen anymore. It's been this evolutionary, I want to say, like, learning experience, or sick science experiment. It's just really unbelievable that in a country that is supposed to be founded, on liberty and justice for all, has turned into this lower court, like it's almost like kingdoms, like despotic kingdoms of lower courts, raining tyranny down on the people, destroying families. And it's been like, so CPS was created. They're given all this power. They create their own procedures, their own guidance documents, and say, well, judge, this is our procedure. And the judge said, okay, well, you're the expert, so officer so-and-so, you go do what they say. And that's not, that's like a despotic kingdom. It can't happen that way. So it's going to end, just like you say in your videos. God is on our side. What we're doing is good for humanity. Sorry, I keep talking.
No, you're fine. And I'm looking up at here, so because I'm on my desktop, I've got where I can see you. Since the Zoom didn't, I'm trying to look at the camera, but I can't see you.
Oh, I know. I do the same thing. I've got a screen over here with something Kirk shared with me. I've got you guys on Zoom over here, and then the cameras are right there. One for Zoom, and one for OBS. And then I've got two pictures of you because I have it in studio mode. There's stuff everywhere. I'm looking all over the place.
And I'm sitting over here being silent.
Yep. Ed's there with us. If you didn't know, I didn't introduce you. Terry, Ed, Terry. That's Ed on Zoom. He's renting a van and bringing a whole bunch of people down from the Pennsylvania, New York area.
Oh, great.
He actually just purchased a screen for the projector because now I have to drive 7 hours west to Buffalo to rent a van or rent a trailer. I just sold my trailer so I could get to the event, but rent a trailer, put the PA system and everything in the trailer, because all of that equipment will be connected with all of my equipment, and without it, we're kind of dead in the water. So I'm gonna, but I was gonna pick up a screen on the way, but if I'm going to Buffalo, then I'd be backtracking to pick up the screen. So Ed is renting the trailer, purchasing a screen, renting a van, driving, zigzagging all the way down the East Coast to pick people up. I mean, Ed is a godsend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
You're an incredible man, Ed.
That's awesome.
So the least I can do is drive 7 hours out of my way to pick up the stuff we need, since we have no other way to do it. So I'll be probably leaving tomorrow night. I'll do the last Live at 5 Remembrance of Nancy Schaefer show before heading out. But I'm really glad I finally got you on the show. I've been asking you for months because I appreciate what you do, respect what you do.
Thank you.
And in the future, if you want to get the word out in any way, and I can help you with broadcast through what I'm doing, or even, I can bring up pictures or any images of medical kidnap and produce if you needed to get something out there and really show what you're talking about, then I'd be more than happy to help in any way I can, because I know how hard you're working.
That'd be great. And I know a lot of families would love the opportunity to talk on your show or any other show to get their story out. So
yes, I get a lot of requests, and
I bet you do.
And it's hard because right now I'm focusing on the event, and I try to keep these down to an hour as much as possible for rewatchability. Also, side note, there are people contacting me who have different hotel rooms, different cabins. There's still a lot of space down there. If you're going to come last minute, you will not need to worry about a place to stay. There's tons of places to stay that are very cheap. One lady just contacted me, said they rented a cabin and there's a loft. They have her husband with her. I believe she said her son with her. But there's a whole separate part of the cabin that they would love to, relieve a little bit of their financial burden and offer some, fellowship and company to somebody coming down. So if you want to come last minute, I mean, I'm probably leaving tomorrow night, but a lot of people might not leave until Saturday night or even Sunday if you live close. But if you need a place to stay, give me a call through Messenger or leave me a message, and we'll set you up. You don't need to worry. Just get there, and we'll make sure you're taken care of. Okay? So thank you for joining us, Terry. Thank you, of course, Ed. And I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern for the final Live at 5 in Remembrance of Nancy Schaefer event show. Any last words before we go, Terry?
I don't know if you saw the latest story. I think you did. The latest story where we have an update on baby Stefan.
Oh, do you?
Yes. Yeah, they've gotten the autopsy back. If you remember the story from last year where this little baby was medically kidnapped and they were trying to take him off of life support and the family was fighting for him, and all these powers that be were fighting, Child Protective Services and lawyers and doctors at Vanderbilt were fighting to take him off of life support and to end his life. And the family couldn't understand what was the big push and why they weren't giving him an opportunity for a second opinion, for other options, and all of. Oh, the autopsy, they haven't released. They're not releasing what exactly the findings are because they're hoping to. They need that for the lawsuit. They need to keep that kind of under wraps. But they said that what they've learned is that it was malpractice, medical neglect, and that it's really an open and shut case. There were things that were done wrong that were covered up, and it looks like there were people involved that knew what had happened and were trying to keep that information from ever seeing the light of day.
Well,
so this baby was sacrificed.
I have a video. I just pulled up the video of baby Stefan that I made almost a year ago now. And it's just pictures of him moving. They were saying he was unresponsive. Oh wait, yeah. And
he
you
wasn't.
can see him moving, reacting to light and sound, and so they euthanized this poor baby.
That's exactly what they did.
Yep. So I can play that again.
We need justice for this family. They need an attorney. They need somebody who will step in and fight for them. It's kind of a complex case, but it's one that should easily be able. A good attorney can win this, and there should be a lot of money involved if somebody is willing to step in and help this family. They don't have money to pay somebody up front. They don't. That was part of the reason they got their children taken in the first place, was because they had a car that wouldn't work right and they missed some doctor's appointments. Right. They're not wealthy, so they need.
What area are they in?
They're north of Nashville in trying to remember the name of the town.
Do me a favor, just I am it to me. Look me up. I am it to me.
Okay.
And I'll reach out to a lawyer. I don't play with attorneys. Reach out to a lawyer and see if we can get them some kind of legal.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't play with attorneys. I can't express that no more.
Attorneys are slightly different than lawyers.
Yeah, lawyers work for themselves. Attorneys work for the bar.
Exactly. I hadn't heard anything in quite a few months about baby Stefan. So for you to update us with, it was basically a homicide. Medical. Yeah.
Well, for them to have given him the dose of propofol when he was breathing and his heart was beating on its own after they took him off of life support, for them to have given him that drug, why would they give that drug? That's not why you give that to. That was very, very questionable.
Yeah. Very questionable. Well, thanks for keeping up on that. And
absolutely. That's one of the most horrific stories I think we've ever covered.
Yeah.
But
it really
so
is.
many of them are. So many of them are horrific. There's just so many nightmares. And we are glad that we have people like your audience and you guys all helping to fight for these families.
Well,
and we have to win this. We have to. We don't have any other option. Failure is not an option.
No, it isn't. And we will, because what we're doing is good for humanity. We just need help.
That's right.
We need the public to understand, and stories. These medical kidnap stories are very powerful. The baby Stefan story is just heartbreaking, and I don't have a lot of video, but I do have some video from when that first happened. So if you need any of that, let me know. So thank you again, Terry, for joining me tonight. Really appreciate your time getting on the show. And I can't wait to see you this weekend.
It'll be good to see you. I'll see you Saturday.
See you Saturday.
Yep.
Have a great
all
night.
Right.
Thanks
Thank
for watching,
you.
everybody.
Too.
I love you all. Good night. Let me get to this.
Now
concludes
the hour of action.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it.
For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury.
To subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws.
All experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
And we're going to take our country back from these people.